Well, good day, everyone. Hope you and your family are doing well during this difficult time. I apologize for both canceling the meeting abruptly now about a month ago and for it taking so long for us to regroup. Uh, my mom's been sick. She was diagnosed with particularly fast-growing breast cancer, and everything just kind of got turned upside down for a bit. So she's doing fine, though. She's had a really positive attitude through this, and our first two chemo treatments are now over, and so 6 more treatments to go, and about 3 months span. So I'll be back and forth to Georgia. I'm actually in Georgia right now. Uh, we both have all the confidence in the world in our doctors, and she has a really great support system around her. Uh, so I wanted to take a little time today to chat. It's a shame that we really can't meet in person and at the moment, because I very much enjoy interacting with everyone and just having lunch together. I want to start with a couple of introductions, though. We have new people on board. As a lot of you already know, Melanie Taylor transferred to our Bay County Extension office back in December. A lot of you already probably followed Melanie on Facebook, but just to update, she had her kidney transplant back in early March, and she's doing fantastic. So we're so happy for Melanie. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Julie McMillan. She is our new 4-H and FCS agent. Julie was really thrown to the wolves early. Her first day on the job was working the livestock club, our 4-H livestock club at the West Florida Livestock Show. So she helped kind of usher our new livestock club into that arena. And I'll let her tell you more about the exciting livestock club we had and how great that went. Don't want to steal her thunder. So also I want to introduce Anitra Mahan. She is our new administrative assistant. So happy to have her on board. She's doing a great job. I'm so happy, excited to have them both on board. Exciting times here at Gulf County Extension. Had to be, though, the most bizarre way to start a job, is they both started around, I think, March the 10th or maybe that first week of March. And then all of a sudden, like a week or so later, the stay-at-home order hit. So it had to be a really strange beginning to a job. So anyway, welcome to Julie and Anitra.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for being here with us today and watching our virtual advisory committee meeting. Citizen input and involvement is essential to the effectiveness of UF-IFAS extension here in Gulf County and across the state. I always like to kind of lead off the presentation with this slide and just talk about how the advisory committee can really help guide and steer our extension program here in Gulf County with accuracy of identification of how we need to meet needs to the community and the county. Programming priorities, what are the types of programs that we really need to be addressing, and the kind of the methodology to reach clientele. And for the foreseeable future, that's going to be a lot of online methods, but hopefully we'll get back to in-person sooner than later. Communication and advocacy for our extension office is another thing that advisory committee members do, and just helps us increase local support of University of Florida and cooperative extension. We do rotate members every 3 years, so you may not want to continue after 3 years as well. We just sort of rotate members, invites to these sort of meetings, just to kind of keep the pool little fresh ideas and things like that, freshen up ideas and things. But you're always, if you've ever been invited to an advisory committee meeting, you're always a member. So you can always, obviously always contact us if you have any ideas about programming or any comments or any kind of questions, of course. The way we're going to do things now is just feedback is going to be given by either emailing me or calling our office or emailing Julie or Anitra to. I'll give some contact information at the end of the presentation as well. Sort of the meeting structure, just for anybody that's new to our advisory committee process. We generally have a meeting in June or July. Of course, this year it's in July. Here, the framework of this meeting is to discuss programming to date and talk about fall plans. And I give an administrative report as well to the committee. The November meeting will be more statewide extension updates. That's when I have my end of year county extension director meeting. And I'm able to bring back some things from the state level and from the district level that to report on after that meeting that I have. We'll also talk about next year's proposed planning, and I give another administration and fiscal report as well. Since COVID-19, wanted to put a slide in the presentation about how we're working through these difficult times. All the county extension directors were tasked with developing a reopening plan. So every county in the state, extension offices had to develop a plan pretty much on the fly. Phase one was our stay-at-home order from UF. So we all worked from home, and Anitra and I made separate weekly visits to the office and the post office to check on things. But from that period of time, from about March 18th to May 4th, we were really working remotely at home, answering emails and phone calls and sitting through a lot of Zoom meetings. And there was some programming that was done during that time, and we'll get into that as we go through the PowerPoint presentation today. Phase two happened. It was we instituted an office rotation plan at that point. And I really call that phase 2.0. That started on May 5th, where there was at least 2 of us in the office daily, and we rotated a schedule where the other staff members were at home during that time. We did that weekly. We sort of changed up the schedule a little bit through that time too, so that people weren't coming in the office on the same days each week. Office is still not open to public traffic. They're just really close quarters here at the office, and the county hasn't installed any social distancing measures yet. So I really feel it's best just to keep it office closed to open to any kind of public traffic there time being. And we're social distancing the best as we can in our offices and throughout the building. As of let's see, July 6th, we started a phase 2.1 where the staff are back at the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, except for Kay, our family nutrition program assistant. She has a state director over that program. They are actually not allowing any program assistants to return in any of the counties until 2021, sometime in January. So things may change with that. Things seem to be changing, minute by minute sometimes. So we'll see how that works for Kay. She's been working from home on a lot of professional development activities and really some planning for the future. So just a little rundown about way phase 3 through 5 will go. Phase 3 will be we reopen the office where there would be social distancing measures put in place, and for outside traffic, but we'd only take appointments only at the office. Phase 4 would be a reopen to walk-in traffic with social distancing measures still in place, of course. And then phase 5, the phase that we all want to get to, is where we open back up, no social distancing, and everything kind of goes back to normal. Um, and I can't wait for that day to happen. Can't wait to be able to announce that. So how are we conducting job duties here at Extension? Um, we're taking phone calls and emails. That's really how we're operating at this point. Programming is done online and on through our Zoom application as we're conducting this meeting today, through Facebook and YouTube as well. I'm conducting some field visits for clients, but I have to have Dean's approval first in order to do so, and it's a lengthy process. But if it warrants it, I can go through that process. But most of what I'm doing is on the phone. If I have a client that needs identification or has some pictures that they can send about a potential disease in a field or on site on a property somewhere, or an insect or some sort of issue like that, our first course of action is really to see if the client can send us a email with a picture or, and some more description, and maybe I can answer that over the phone. But again, if it warrants, I can make a site visit. 4-H camp, of course, was canceled this year. Any of these club activities have been postponed, in-person club activities, that is. We can host some workshops with 10 or more people following CDC guidelines with social distancing. However, our dean and district director have really stressed this has to be an essential activity with approval from the dean. So in other words, online programming is just really what's recommended. As of August the 1st, I think the number will increase to 50, but again, online programming is what is greatly recommended at this time. So I'd like to run down a few outreach events. These are kind of more district or larger outreach events that we had planned for 2020. I mean, a lot of these were postponed or canceled, however, but I wanted to give an update to the advisory committee on that. Our Northwest District Beef Cattle Conference and Trade Show did happen in February. We were able to get that in, so that's like 35 or 36 years running. And we had a great turnout for that, pushing 200 people. So that was pretty awesome showing there, and it just continues to grow. That's conducted in our Jackson County office where there's a tremendously large conference room. Excuse me. The St. Joseph Bay Bay Day put on by the Buffer Preserve was in February. We were able to conduct that outreach event and talk more about marine programs and kind of educate the public there on some things that we were doing on the coast, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Our library talks were in Weewa and Port St. Joe, as they are scheduled every year. Every other month, we're in one of the locations. But it was postponed after February. As of March, our beekeeping conference and trade show was converted to a webinar, which was something we kind of did on the fly too, and not a lot of us had a lot of experience doing those kind of doing these kind of online webinars, so we had to kind of learn fast. Of course, the Tupelo Honey Festival and our open house that we were going to plan to have in Weewa was canceled. What's going to happen with our beef and forage field day? It's supposed to be scheduled for September, probably postponed. I imagine Sunbelt Ag Expo in October will be postponed, as well as the North Florida Fair. Everything's kind of up in the air. We haven't heard exactly what's going to happen with those three major events, but we will. Those are all kind of to be determined. Some of the agricultural program updates. Had a cool season forage field day planned. A lot of work went into that. It was going to be scheduled to have a field day in early April. Of course, the pandemic hit, stay-at-home order hit, so had to work quickly to kind of change this to a virtual field day. That's online. That's on our Facebook if you'd like to view it. It's about 15 minutes long. And I do my best to go over the different trials that we had. I think it went well as far as the trials. Um, would have much rather had this as an in-person event so people could be there on site and ask questions. But you might want to check that out. Still working on a pond management video series, and I imagine that's going to be a big part of what we do as agricultural agents in the district. We're going to team up together on Zoom and do some of these natural resources on the farm videos for Facebook and some other outlets this fall. Again, like what I mentioned earlier about our Beekeeping in the Panhandle conference and trade show, that's a day-and-a-half event that we have annually, and we quickly had to change that to a online version, which was about 6 hours long, but we had 235 people, I think, register for it. So that was pretty good. We usually have about 175 that register for it in person. So that webinar went really well early on. One exciting bit of news I'd like to bring up about our agricultural programs. We do have a hemp trial that's has already begun here in Gulf County. It's really exciting and new. Florida Department of Ag permitted just a really handful of farmers in the state for the ability to try out some industrial hemp cultivars. And we have one trial right here in Gulf County. We're the only one. We're the only county in the Northwest District that has a trial. So that's pretty neat. It's about a 3-acre trial. There are 2 cultivars they're trying here. As far as IFAS goes, and a lot of the universities go throughout the country, there's a lot of question marks about how industrial hemp will grow in certain areas. What are the pests? What are the nutrient requirements? What are the soil requirements? There's just like a lot of questions, and so this is really just an interesting start to research. There's a company out of Oregon that has instituted a Florida Panhandle subsidiary of their operation who is conducting this trial. So they've been in the business for a while, and we hope to learn a lot from them as well. Both cultivars that are planted or are going to be planted are for both the CBD oil market and for fiber market, as far as like making like hard products or rope, things like that. So it's really interesting, and I'm excited to be able to report on this at our advisory committee meetings. We know this is going to be a 24-month research project, but it could be for a lot longer, and I suspect it will be. So something interesting is happening in Gulf. As you can see on the map, most of the trials are like South Florida. Most of the permits, I think, are really in the Miami-Dade area. For that one county, there may be 10 permits, I think, if I remember correctly. Something to that effect. So interesting research going on with industrial hemp. Some of the natural resource updates. I imagine a lot of you are familiar with our Scallop Sitter program, where we partner with FWC, and we train volunteers to really look after juvenile scallop cages in the bay, as far as helping the bay become more populated with scallops, as these scallops produce spat and juvenile and larger scallops over the season. It's just a really interesting, neat project that we have. But because of volunteers, especially because of the volunteer part of the program, we've had to suspend operation for it this year. But we are planning for 2021 already. So looking forward to that. Master Naturalist course. I did teach a Master Naturalist course online recently on mangroves for our coastal shoreline restoration class. So I think that went pretty well. It would have been better to do it in person, obviously. Any of these kind of natural resource programs, it's better to be on site somewhere than do a presentation and be able to do a field day as well attached to it. You don't, I don't think you grasp a lot of the unique things about natural resources if you're not doing a on-site sort of tour of an area. But it is what it is. I think it went well though with the course material. We had about a dozen people for that class online. Our mangrove and diamondback terrapin survey both have been postponed until 2021. Those are heavily volunteer programs that help us document mangrove expansion in St. Joseph Bay and track diamondback terrapin populations. So unfortunately, we had to postpone that. Our Water Watch program, which has been around since 2018, just ended this month. Actually, we haven't had volunteer support for it since February due to the pandemic. But this is where we had citizen scientists go out and collect water samples and test the water for pH and dissolved oxygen, temperature, water clarity, and even microplastic content. There were 6 sites in the bay. We're just wrapping that up now and doing the analysis of all the data. But that has come to an end. That may be a program that's going to be rebooted at some point in the future. But for now, the grant project is over. So we'll be looking for other monies to kind of restart that program at some point. Another thing that just kind of hit this year, we were awarded back in January a marine debris and derelict vessel removal grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. This is a 3-county effort with Bay, Franklin, and Gulf counties involved to really remove anything in our waterways that was left over from Hurricane Michael. Bay County is still really struggling with this. The bulk of the funds will be used in Bay County, I can tell you, and what it is it's a program set up to help identify derelict vessels and marine debris, who the owner is, and put them in contact with a contractor that can remove that kind of debris from the area. It's all permitted through these county operations too. It's just another mechanism to kind of help speed up debris cleanup in our region. Just a few horticulture program updates too. We do have a multi-county effort with Franklin County and Wakulla County to teach Master Gardener. And we taught it centrally in Franklin County this past spring. And we wrapped up in May. Because of the pandemic, in March, all the classes were shifted to online format. But we did have a dozen, 10, maybe 10 participants that graduated from that course. We may be looking for a golf course to come about in 2021. It's going to be online. This may be a multi-county effort too. We're still working on that. Having another Master Gardener class. Our Green Industries and Best Management program was taught in Bay County, and I helped with that effort. We had some folks from Gulf County to come over. Green Industries and Best Management Practices is a fertilizer course. It's a fertilizer applicator course, so it teaches participants the best way to fertilize and the effects that over-fertilizing can have on the environment. It's heavy on regulation, making sure that the applicator knows the rules and the regulations of fertilizing. It's mostly for fertilizing lawn applications, so we have a lot of landscapers and law management folks that take that class. We'll may end up teaching one this fall online. We're still waiting to hear back from state GIBMP, I think, on how that's going to sort of play out. But we're looking to go online with that training. As I do every year, we have pesticide license trainings in the county. We've already taught a core class, which is the kind of the capstone class you have to take in order to get a focus area license. And for our area, I usually teach a core and then natural areas as a focus. And we have 52 people take a exam training class for both the core and the natural areas. We did this online back in May, and it was really successful. We do plan on maybe a private applicator or an aquatic exam, aquatic test prep class, maybe this fall. There's a number of people that are needing continuing education units. We do have a statewide CEU program, but it was postponed because we can't have in person so many people that can come to our county offices to be able to see the statewide, participate in a statewide CEU program that's on Zoom. So a lot of people are looking for CEUs. Some of these can be done online. Some of these can be done from recordings. But we're still working on some other methods and ways that people can get their continuing education units so they can keep their license up to date. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Julie McMillan and let her speak to you guys about 4-H, youth development, and family and consumer science programs here in Gulf County. And without further ado, and my pleasure, here's Julie.
Hey everybody, I'm so glad to be here. Like Ray said, I started out with a bang. I had 2 weeks in the office before we went home to work, but it was a fun 2 weeks. My first day, we went to the West Florida Livestock show, which was just the judging contest on Friday. And then we had the actual show on Saturday. And so Friday night, we took two teams in the junior judging division, which is age 8 to 13. They had never they judged cattle and hogs, and they had never done either before. So we had a short training the Thursday before, and they did phenomenal considering that they had never done it. But the kids, they placed one of our teams, we had 2 teams, and one of our teams placed 5th. There were 8 teams enrolled, and then our other team placed 2nd. So I was super proud, and I think that maybe we have a future in this judging business here because they did great. And there's a picture here on the slide, as you can see, that's them with their ribbons. And then we had all of our kids that we took are between ages 8 and 13. Like I said, but little Travis Archibald there, he's only 9, and he actually placed 3rd overall in the junior division for judging. So he did really well. I think he surprised himself, but we were tickled with having that. And then on Saturday, the next day, we went to the livestock show. And these kids here, they had raised these cows. Well, they got them this summer. So this was in March. They got them back in the summer, and they have to, long story short, they have to basically keep a record and get these steers where they can show them. So they have to have a pretty strict feeding program for them, and they have to get them to a certain weight. A lot of them took them to the North Florida Fair in November, and that was kind of their first time out with them, and so they learned a lot there and learned what they could improve on. And they took their steers, and these steers, they have to gain a certain amount of weight basically between shows, and they're able to sell their steers not at the North Florida Fair, but they're able to sell them at this West Florida Livestock Show. But they can only do that. They can only show them and sell them if they have gained a certain amount of weight and within those 2 shows. And it's like a pound a day or something. It's real strict. So it teaches a lot of responsibility. And I think it really said a lot about this group. But they did really well. As you can see, there's a picture of them showing their steers. And these steers, if you look at the weights, they weighed basically between 900 and 1,500 pounds. And these kids are handling them very well, I will say. So you can tell they put a lot of work into it, and we were very proud. But Allie placed third and Jared placed fourth. And the classes, they were all in different classes based on the weight. So that's what the results were there. So the steers that weighed 918 to 1,086 pounds, Allie placed third and Jared placed fourth. And then the steers weighing about 1,110 pounds to 1,171 pounds, Ava Peck placed second place and Riata placed fourth. And then Travis, again, one of the smallest kid, had the largest steer. His was in the class weighing 1,228 pounds to 1,458 pounds, and he placed fifth in his class. So there were quite a few. There were quite a few kids here over in Gadsden County where we were doing this, and I think it was just a great experience. We learned a lot. I don't know if we'll get to do it or not this coming year, but I know a couple of kids have already gotten their steers this summer. And so they're hoping to, so we'll just have to see how it goes, but they're hoping to do that again. And we are thinking that our livestock club is going to double in size. From what we understand, there's a lot of interest with that. And it's only been, we just started it last year. So we're very excited about what's to come there. I think in our area, there's more kids than we know of that are interested in that. And it's, like I said, not just steers, but they can show hogs and pretty much small livestock as well. So if you'll go to the next slide, please, Ray. On the family and consumer science side of things, we were trying to figure out something to do. And so one person in family and consumer science developed a program called Let's Walk Florida, and her name's Latoya Jackson, and she pushed it out 6 months early. And this is normally something that you do not do online, so she did a great job getting it out early. But this is something that we participated here as a county, but we also had to change it up a little bit than what it normally would have been. But it was a 10-week challenge, and we just finished it up. Actually, last week was the last week. And a 10-week challenge that focused on improving or maintaining your health through physical activity or fitness. So a lot of people just did walking. So you could walk, or you could exercise at your home, or just gym, or whatever you choose to do for fitness. And then But this year we had to do it with social distancing, physical distancing measures. So normally there would be some teams. So we didn't have as many teams this year just because people weren't really encouraged to get together to do that. But a lot of people just did it on their own. It was something that we could do while social distancing, because you can walk. We could still get outside and walk and exercise or jog. A lot of people jog. But there were around 239 participants within 8 counties. And the 8 counties were in the Eastern Panhandle. We kind of joined together and took turns getting out that weekly communication that we sent out. It was emails, Facebook group, also sending out information just to kind of keep people interested and engaged. And then, of course, the kids were very disappointed this summer without summer camp. Normally, we would have our residential camp at Camp Timpucci here, but also we would have day camps covering a variety of activities that they could do and be interested in. So it was originally a idea within the Panhandle that we would try to bring these things to kids virtually. And then the state decided to pick it up. So our idea for the virtual summer camps went all over the state of Florida. And to my knowledge, as of now, they're still going on through the end of July, but there were close to 2,000 kids registered for these camps. So that ended up being pretty awesome, and also a way that we could engage virtually. But this is a list of the different camps. So if mostly the way it worked is that you didn't have to be on there at a particular day or time, but kids could, join, sign up, register for it, but then do it as they were able to do it within that week. So I participated in the small animal livestock camp, and so that's the way we set it up by day, and they just click on each day and they could do it as they could. But each one was a little different. And you didn't have to be a 4-H member to do this. So that was pretty neat. I think that did reach out to a lot of people, and some of them were even out of state, but we're going to look at it as a way to get the ones that signed up that weren't 4-H members. We're going to look at it as a way to kind of reach out to them and grab them now that they have signed up for something. So hopefully we'll get some new membership out of that. And then we are hoping there is a volunteer retreat for Northwest Florida planned in January. So we're hoping this happens, and it's going to be over in Destin. And so if you know any volunteers, or hopefully this will happen. I'm thinking it'll go virtual if we don't get to go over, but if we're just not sure at the moment, but there is going to be a volunteer retreat coming up, and we always need volunteers for 4-H. And then I just wanted to take a second to just kind of let you guys know what we have in case you don't. So we have 4 community club, or 2 community clubs right now. So we have the 4-H Big River Riders Horse Club, and before we got sent home and all the COVID stuff happened, we were planning to go to our district horse show back in, it would have been in May. And the kids that qualified, they go at district, they can qualify in order to go to state every July. So we didn't get to do that, but that was kind of the big thing we were gearing up for before all this happened. And then we have our 4-H Livestock Club. As I said, we've definitely got some growth there, and we're looking forward to seeing where that goes. And then I've had a few kids reach out and say that they didn't really know about having a horse or a steer, but they might be interested in doing like the poultry and the rabbits, and they can enter those at the North Florida Fair and several other places, and that's a little bit smaller scale. So we're going to try to see what we can get going with some chickens and rabbits, and get a little interest going there. Maybe a separate club on that, or maybe we'll just add it into our livestock club. We'll just have to see how that goes. But with this year, as Ray touched on, we don't know if we'll have the North Florida Fair. So that normally would be something that the kids would do in the fall. Also, we would, of course, have had our summer camps, and then we have our new enrollment as of September 1st. So if you know anyone interested, kids or volunteers, if they want to reach out, we're still gonna have everything going. It just is gonna be more virtually, and the trainings will probably be virtual, but we're gonna do the best we can in this situation. And I just wanted to put the ages on there, just so people are always asking, like, what age can kids do 4-H, and what can my little ones do? So so the Clover Buds are 5 to 7-year-olds, and they can't officially compete in the shows and contests, but a lot of times they can participate. So they'll, I'll think of an example. If we went to the North Florida Fair and they wanted to show a chicken, they would be allowed to bring their chicken and show it, but they basically get a ribbon of participation. But it's just kind of preparing them to actually be a member once they turn 8 years old. And then the juniors are 8 to 10, intermediates 11 to 13, and the seniors are 14 to 18. And so the kids have a lot of opportunities as they get to be teens. Also, there's teen council, and they can go to 4-H University where they compete in public speaking and things like that. So kind of preps these kids as they're younger. When they get older, they get opportunities, and there's also opportunity for scholarship once they graduate. So, and like I said, we always need adult volunteers. We always need them to help our programs to grow and expand. So if anybody is interested in volunteering, or if you know somebody that you think would like to help us out, make sure that you let them know. We'd love to have them.
All right. Thank you, Julie. That was great. I appreciate the update. I've got a slide here on for the administrative report for this committee meeting. Again, I want to welcome Julie and Anitra on board. They have been absolutely fantastic to work with. Looking forward to great things in the future. So I just want to welcome them one more time to Gulf County Extension. So next bullet on there too is a county budget has been submitted. Matter of fact, it was currently under review now with the commissioners. We did have a commission meeting yesterday. I was able to watch some of that online. It looks like everything will be fine with a budget, but no increases really across the board. We'd asked for a new vehicle, and I don't think we're gonna get that this year. But it looks like no increase and probably no decrease either for our budget. So we'll keep the status quo that we've had the last couple of years. Good news, a little bit of bad, probably not getting a vehicle, but we'll just continue trying to do so as we go forward. Really probably the major expenditure out of our local bank account has been insurance for contents at the horse arena. So this is Horse Club contents there. That's really the only expenditure. By this time, we generally have expenditures for camp and some other programming measures that have to be funded. But it's been pretty quiet on the checkbook side of things, as far as especially accounts payable. So really the insurance policy is about the only thing that a major expense that we've paid for this year so far. With that being said, there's been a push across the state to have all of the local bank accounts transferred to a UF bank account on campus, which is actually through Wells Fargo. So we'd have to do our banking in Panama City, which would be the closest Wells Fargo branch. I know I've talked about this at other advisory committee meetings, but this is probably a best time as any to start really thinking about transferring the funds. There's no timetable set by the university to do that. I believe there will be at some point. A lot of the county offices have already closed their county bank accounts and had that money transferred to the UF bank account. As it stands right now, we do have a 182 account with the university with funds there. So we're really managing two separate bank accounts. So it would be nice to get everything under one umbrella. It's probably not another charge that will go through this account here locally in the coming months. So we're going to think seriously about going ahead and closing the account, the Centennial Bank account, and transferring those funds to UF in maybe August, September, maybe the latest. We have kind of tabled the new facility grant. If you have been in a advisory committee meeting last year, what I spoke about, we were rejected. There's a statewide program through Department of Ag that funds new agri-complexes across the state, and it's a lot of extension offices get their funding that way for new buildings. Our proposal was rejected for a number of things. And it's really hard to get this money. Let me just preface with that too. But our grant proposal failed in a couple of categories. A lot of it was because of population size and the ability for the county to provide match for a new facility. But there are other ways that we can submit, not a grant so much, but a Florida Department of Ag legislative initiative that can help us with a new facility. There's some other ways that we can go about looking for funds. Don't know what the grant climate's going to be about. Going to be like here in the state of Florida after the pandemic, or as the pandemic is going on. This may be low priority, but we're still going to continue to work on a new facility grant for us here in Gulf County. So that really wraps up our advisory committee meeting update today. Of course, if you have any comments or questions, you can always email me. You can email Julie, our number, or Anitra as well. I don't have their email addresses on here, but you can always email me. Here's our phone number at the office. Traditionally, we have a part in the presentation here where we ask for feedback. If there's any comments or questions from the group, obviously we don't have that ability to do that today, but we're always here for comments and questions. So please reach out to us. Thank you for listening to the program today. Our next committee meeting will be in November. More than likely it's going to be virtual again. So that'll be sometime in November. We'll let you know how if plans change. But thank you again for joining us today. Please be safe out there and take care. We'll talk to you soon.